This is the top 10 post-apocalyptic games you should play in 2023. This is only games that have already released, and not new ones that are coming out later on in the year. So without further ado, let's get into the top 10. At number 10, it's Days Gone. It is set in post-apocalyptic Oregon 2 years after the start of a pandemic that turned a portion of humanity into vicious zombie-like creatures. Former outlaw turned drifter Deacon St. John discovers his wife Sarah, having been assumed dead, may still be alive and goes on a quest to find her. Days Gone is played from a third-person perspective in which the player can explore an open-world environment. Players can use firearms, melee weapons, and improvised weapons, and can use stealth to defend themselves against hostile humans and cannibalistic creatures known as freakers. A major game mechanic is Deacon's motorcycle, which is used as the player character's main mode of transportation. Whilst it did get bad reviews at first, it has greatly improved and is definitely worth the buy, and you can also find it on PS Plus Extra Tier ready to play. This is only available on PC and the PlayStations. Number 9, The Last of Us Part 1. The Last of Us is an action-adventure game played from a third-person perspective. The player traverses post-apocalyptic environments such as towns, buildings, forests, and sewers to advance the story. The player can use firearms, improvised weapons, hand-to-hand combat, and stealth to defend against hostile humans and cannibalistic creatures infected by a mutated strain of the cordyceps fungus. For most of the game, the player takes control of Joel, a man tasked with escorting a young girl, Ellie, across the United States. This is a great game to get, and I recommend getting The Last of Us Remastered, but if you have the money and want the new gen experience, then you should get the remake The Last of Us Part 1. The Last of Us Part 1 is available on PC and the PlayStations. Number 8, The Last of Us Part 2. Set 5 years after The Last of Us Part 1, the game focuses on two playable characters in a post-apocalyptic United States whose lives intertwine. Ellie, who sets out in revenge for a murder, and Abby, a soldier who becomes involved in a conflict between her militia and a religious cult. The game uses a third-person perspective. The player must fight human enemies and cannibalistic zombie-like creatures with firearms, improvised weapons, and stealth. This game is controversial, but as it split the whole fanbase up, but it is a good game, and you would have to see the story from a different point of view to understand certain story parts. This is available on PS4 and has a free PS5 upgrade. Number 7, Metro Exodus. A sequel to Metro Last Light in the book Metro 2035, the game follows protagonist Iridium and his crew, as they flees the Moscow Metro and sets off on an intercontinental journey with his allies to the Far East, on a locomotive called the Aurora. The story takes place over the course of 1 year, bringing Iridium to various locations such as the Caspian Sea and the Volga River. The game improves on various gameplay mechanics of Last Light, and features both linear levels like previous Metro games, and several miniature open-world locations. A brilliant game with survival and horror elements. Metro Exodus is available on PC, the Xboxes and PlayStations. Number 6, Dying Light. The game's story follows an undercover agent named Kyle Crane who is sent to infiltrate a quarantine zone in a Middle Eastern city called Harran. It features an enemy-infested, open-world city with a dynamic day-night cycle, in which zombies are slow and clumsy during daytime but become extremely aggressive at night. The gameplay is focused on weapons-based combat and parkour, allowing players to choose fight or flight when presented with dangers. This is one of the best 2015 titles out there and is available on PC, PlayStations, Xboxes, and Nintendo Switch. Number 5, Dead Island 2. About 15 years after the events of Dead Island, the U.S. military are forced to put Los Angeles under a full quarantine restricted zone due to a new and stronger zombie outbreak. As Los Angeles is being quarantined, 6 individuals, dubbed Slayers, board one of the last evacuation flights out of the city. Hustler Bruno, mechanic Carla, retail worker Donnie, firefighter-themed stripper Ryan, athlete Amy and stuntman Jacob. Even though this game took ages to release and went through multiple studios, it's finally released, and it is a great game that is really enjoyable. This is available on PC, the PlayStations and Xboxes. Number 4, Fallout 4. The story takes place in the year 2287, 10 years after the events of Fallout 3 and 210 years after the Great War, which caused catastrophic nuclear devastation across the United States. The player assumes control of a character referred to as the sole survivor, who emerges from a long-term cryogenic stasis in Vault 111, an underground nuclear fallout shelter. After witnessing the murder of their spouse and kidnapping of their son, The sole survivor ventures out into the Commonwealth to search for their missing child. The player explores the game's dilapidated world, completes various quests, helps out factions, and acquires experience points to level up and increase the abilities of their character. One of the best post-apocalyptic RPG game I've ever played and definitely deserves all the hype. Fallout 4 is available on PC, PlayStations and the Xboxes. Number 3. Stray. The story follows a stray cat who falls into a walled city populated by robots, machines, and mutant bacteria, and sets out to return to the surface with the help of a drone companion, B-12. The game is presented through a third-person perspective. The player traverses the game world by leaping across platforms and climbing up obstacles, and can interact with the environment to open new paths. Using B-12, they can store items found throughout the world and hack into technology to solve puzzles. Throughout the game, the player must evade the antagonistic Zerks and Sentinels, which attempt to kill them. This short but unique game is very good and attempts to do things that other games wouldn't try and do. You should definitely try this game out since it's a really nice break from massive open-world games that are extremely long. Stray is available on PC, PlayStations and Xboxes.
Number 2. Nier, Automata. It is set during a proxy war between alien-created machines and human-crafted androids, focusing on the actions of Combat Android 2B, Scanner Android 9S, and Rogue Prototype A2. The story requires multiple playthroughs, with each playthrough revealing new story elements. The gameplay combines role-playing elements with action-based hack-and-slash combat. It also includes gameplay from other video game genres, with elements varying from shoot-'em-up to text adventure. It is available on PC, PlayStations, Xboxes and Nintendo Switch. Number 1. Death Stranding. The game is set in an apocalyptic United States, where a cataclysmic event known as the Death Stranding caused beached things, BTs, invisible creatures originating from the beach lands thought to be unique to each person that are typically visited during near-death experiences and are said to be the link to the afterlife, to begin roaming the earth. BTs are created from the dead via necrosis, and when they consume a living human being, they create an explosion on the scale of a nuclear bomb, known as a void-out. They also produce rain known as timefall, that rapidly ages and deteriorates whatever it hits. These events damage the country's infrastructure, leading its remaining population to confine themselves to remote colonies known as not cities, which form the remaining United Cities of America. Available on PC and the PlayStations.
I hope you guys try some of these games out. And thank you for watching this video.